Repeat it. Iran ended up launching a ballistic missile attack on a U.S. airbase over in Qatar. All right. And that U.S. airbase was emptied out reportedly, okay, several days ago. The Qatari officials have came out and stated that 0 casualties are being reported and that all ballistic missiles that were fired over there did in fact get intercepted. Shortly thereafter, Iran ended up releasing this statement: in the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most merciful. Clearly, they've got to include Allah in their freaking statement because, you know, everybody knows that this isn't about a radical religious ideology. Said, noble and resilient nation of Iran, follow the blatant military aggression of the criminal regime of the United States of America against the peaceful nuclear facilities of the Republic of Iran and the blatant violation of international law by the plan of the Supreme National Security Council and the leadership of the central headquarters of the Seal of the Prophets, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, with the sacred code of I freaking pronounce half that crap, has targeted the Al Udeid base in Qatar with a devastating and powerful missile attack in Operation Basharat Fatah. This base is the headquarters of the Air Force and the largest strategic asset of the United States Army in the West Asia region. That's actually a true statement. It is a very strategic location for the United States of America. The message of the decisive action of the nation's sons in the armed forces is clear and explicit for the White House and its allies. The Islamic Republic of Iran, relying on God Almighty and relying on the faithful and illustrious people of the Islamic Iran, will not leave any attack on its territorial integrity, sovereignty, and national security unanswered under any circumstances. With the aggression of the American enemy, it becomes clear to everyone that the evil of the Zionists was an extension of the American design. Accordingly, we would like to remind you that this is the national defense. The American bases and mobile military targets in the region are not a point of strength, but a major weakness, the thorn in the side of the warmongering regime. So that is the official statement that ends up coming out from Iran on this unprecedented attack on a U.S. airbase over in Qatar. Now, I'm going to take you guys over there. I'm going to show you some of these interceptions that were taking place over the skies of Doha just about an hour ago. Allahu Akbar. So just to give you guys a little bit of idea of the scale of the attack, it looks like Iran had fired up to 15 ballistic missiles over in that direction. Pretty dang short flight. Only took a couple of minutes for him to get over there. Mr. Yakamoto says, Matt definitely rushed back only to forget his pants again. Just saying. No, sir, my pants are on and intact today. CJ says, pray for all of our forces in the Middle East and our allies. Yes, sir. Let's 100% do that. It's kind of odd that Iran chose this as a particular target, seeing how Qatar has actually been, truthfully, they have allowed members of Hamas in there. They have allowed members of Iran in there. They've allowed members of the freaking Taliban over there, for crying out loud. So for them to be firing ballistic missiles over Qatari territory, I don't think Qatar is going to respond to this whatsoever at all. I just don't see that happening. But let me take you back over to the skies real quick. Here you see some outgoing fire to go over and intercept some of those ballistic missiles that were inbound into Qatar. Those who are unaware, the U.S. did move an entire Patriot battalion, all right, entire Patriot battalion into the CENTCOM area of responsibility prior to the U.S. actually getting involved over inside of Iran. We ended up, basically bolstering our defenses over there. We ended up collapsing a bunch of defenses over inside of Syria. And bringing those people back under the cover of some of these Patriots. They actually only cover a limited amount of battle space, and so you're going to want to bring those forces back into the area. There was reports right before I ended up coming on here about aircraft that got launched out of Saudi Arabia, and if I remember correctly, the U.S. did in fact stage F-22s over in Saudi Arabia, Trump's currently in the Situation Room or on his way if he didn't arrive in there yet. So we may be hearing about a U.S. response very soon. If you guys do end up seeing those responsive, or if you guys have any new information as all this breaking stuff comes out, I've got my X account posted down here in the bottom corner of the screen. You guys are more than welcome to go over there and tag me in relevant videos as I go and start bringing these up to start bringing you guys with more and more information as this continues on. I mean, they're chilling on their boat over inside of freaking Qatar. I don't know why they would fire. Like, you can hear the music from them hanging out on their boat. Incog Faraday coming in, giving out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you on this live session. Mr. Yakamoto, yeah, already read that comment out. I don't think I've missed any more of you guys as I continue on to continue to deliver this information for you. Let me get another video of these intercepts going up on the screen for you. Yep, and here's another one. Now, that one I really can't make a damn thing out, to be perfectly honest. But like I said, all 15 up to 15 of the ballistic missiles did in fact get intercepted, according to Qatari officials. No casualties have been listed so far. I'll remind you guys that there was a report of an attack with explosions on the Al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq. However, that is unconfirmed. The only thing that Iran has actually owned up to so far is launching the ballistic missiles over at Qatar. However, I did see one video, I lost it, alleging that there was a Patriot battery that was firing over inside of Iraq. Not really sure what the hell happened to it or where it went, but that would suggest that a ballistic missile was fired in that direction, and it's very possible that that could have been a fake video. Just want to let you guys know that it is floating around out there. More than likely, the attack on the Al-Assad airbase, if we were to look at previous attacks, most of the time they end up launching like 107 Katyushas over at that base. And we've had a lot of people get TBIs over there. There was over 180 U.S. service members that actually got wounded in the Middle East since the start of this conflict. I see Mr. Lost coming in, becoming a true supporter. So good to have you, Mr. Lost, as we continue on. Let me get this video up. Looking at outgoing fire over Qatar.
What do you think that is? Is that where the U.S. base is, in that direction? That direction? Maybe they're doing it to stop the counter, you know? Shit is going down right now. I'm shooting it. I gotta call you back. Okay.
All right, so I see it down in the comment section. Looks like Fox News is also reporting that the Al-Assad airbase fell under attack over inside of Iraq. I'm not seeing any videos of the Al-Assad airbase being attacked, just FYI. Or anything else, but there was reports of explosions taking place over on the Al-Assad airbase. Yeah, he's calling his mom or his brother or whoever, man. It's typical American crap. You got missiles coming in, but better get it for the gram, baby. You better get it up there and get it for the gram. But yeah, lots of those over there. So the question is whether or not the U.S. is going to respond to this attack by Iran, right? A lot of people are very worried about what is taking place over in the Middle East right now. A lot of people here in the United States are worried about whether or not we're going to get drugged into another war. I really don't see us being drugged into a long-term war like everybody else. There's also the concern going on right now over inside of the Middle East that Iran is going to end up shutting off the Strait of Hormuz, but I'm going to I'm going to show you a live shot of the Strait of Hormuz. Those are all merchant vessels that are still currently flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is not closing that sucker off. It's not going anywhere, all right? And if they do, it would likely be to their detriment if they decided to do so. But the question is whether or not the U.S. is going to respond to this. Now, to take that into account, I remind you guys of what Donald Trump ended up saying after our last attack. All right. If Iran chooses war, or if Iran chooses to respond to this, then we are going to treat them very poorly. All right. There is a high probability that the U.S. is going to respond to this attack. Now, the only thing that might keep us out of that in responding is it's very clear U.S. prior to all of this ended up emptying out that airbase. Okay. Prior to all of this going down, the U.S. emptied out that airbase. The attack on the al-Assad airbase over inside of Western Iraq, once that's confirmed, whether or not we hear casualties come out of there, if there is casualties reported out of al-Assad and it was one of the Iranian militias, for those of you who do not know that are just here watching this now for the very first time, just want to let you guys know that Iran has lots of little proxy organizations around the Middle East, and it's kind of how they project themselves. It's so they can keep like a degree of separation between what's happening on the front line. So it is possible that publicly what ended up happening was Iran ended up launching this ballistic missile attack at a known empty U.S. airbase to try to save face. And at the same time, because again, the reports came in right around the same time that the al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq ended up getting a attack on it. Unknown right now if it's ballistic missiles, unknown if it was just ground launch rockets. We don't know the extent of the al-Assad airbase. Not a lot of information is coming out of there right now. I'm going to continue to check on that. But if there is reports of casualties that came out of there, I promise you that the U.S. is going to respond. If those attacks are credible, even though it was an Iranian militia, it is very possible that the U.S. ends up responding as well. The reason I say that is because Iran is not stupid. They like to save their little public face. And publicly, they can stand back and say, look, we fired at this empty U.S. airbase over in Qatar, and there was no casualties that ended up coming out of it. And they can say that it was proportional is the other thing, right? Iran's getting a little bit better at politics. I'm not going to lie. They're getting a lot better at politics and the way they go about things. Granted that most of the stuff that comes out of their mouth is a bunch of garbage, but you know, that's likely what they would end up doing. And then stating that the U.S. is acting aggressively and that, you know, there's no reason for them to attack and blah, 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 blah. All right, here we go. Here is the video from al-Assad. Let me grab that and get that up on the screen. This looks like aerial defense assets shooting out over al-Assad. Ended up coming across it. Let me grab that and put it up on the screen for you guys real quick. Grab this sucker, and we have it up. Allegedly, this is aerial defense assets shooting out of the al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq. Now, if this video is actually confirmed to be coming out of there, then I would say that 100% Iran did, in fact, fire ballistic missiles at the al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq. We've got different types of, I don't know how you want to say this. There's different types of aerial defense assets for different types of threats. Most of the time for simple things like rockets, for example, you're not going to see this, you know, flying out into the sky. What you're looking at over here is likely Patriot launches going up to intercept ballistic missiles that would have been fired by Iran. Other than that, you tend to see like what it kind of looks like a minigun shooting up in the sky, a bunch of tracers going out over and after it. But when I take a look at this video, the reason I'm like, yep, seems kind of credible to me that this very well could be what we're seeing here. That most certainly looks like Iraq. Like, having spent some time on the ground over there, it kind of reminds me of Iraq. I'm not going to lie about that. Looks like we also had all of the commercial flights getting canceled in Kuwait for safety. There was also over in Bahrain, it looked like they were given a shelter in place order. And so all of those, just by the way, these are the only two confirmed attacks that we're talking about, is Al-Adid over in Qatar and al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq. Those are the only two locations that look like have actually been attacked by Iran. Information coming about from the al-Assad airbase is pretty nil. So what's the U.S. going to do to respond? Well, likely we are going to go over and we're going to start taking out a lot of their ballistic missile capabilities. We know where they're stored. We did drop 14 of the massive ordnance penetrators on Iran the other day. It's rumored that the U.S. has anywhere between 20 and 30 of those in their inventory before we ended up dropping those. So up to max, you could say that we have about 16 or so of those bombs left, which is quite a bit. Those are big bombs. Now, Iran's got most of their ballistic missiles that are hiding down in caves, and while Israel might have taken out a lot of their medium-range ballistic missiles, and according to Israel, they've taken out 2/3 of their mobile launchers, it is possible that they have even more that are stored down within those caves, and the U.S. is likely going to be targeting those. So I would expect to see bombs falling from U.S. aircraft sometime in the very near future, targeting those very particular things. Now, we do have bombers that are still staged over in the area, while the ones that did take and attack Iran the other day have returned home to the United States of America. We have plenty of other strategic bombers over there. U.S. actually moved in a bunch of F-22 fighter jets and F-35s over the last like 10 days or so. And I said most of them are being staged out of Saudi Arabia. I know the F-22s, for example, were spotted over in Saudi Arabia. So if we are going to respond, I would highly expect to see a lot of our fighter jets being the first ones to be dropping bombs on the ground. And we are waiting a statement from the White House. I have yet to see them coming out with another one or what a response is going to be. It is possible, just so everybody is aware, that the U.S. doesn't really do anything. All right. Oh, this is a cool video. It is possible that the U.S. doesn't do anything in response to this, that we just kind of let it slide. We definitely let it slide after the U.S. ended up killing Soleimani and Iran ended up launching ballistic missiles at the U.S. consulate building. The big difference in this is it looks like the Assad regime might actually be falling sometime in the near future. Trump came out just the other day and was talking about regime change over there. And so if Trump is going to be talking about regime change in Iran, then it is possible that the Ayatollah fears that his, entire freaking life's work might be in jeopardy. So I could see them ramping up attacks, and Donald Trump is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. If he doesn't respond to this and Iran continues to attack U.S. forces over in the area and U.S. troops end up getting killed, he's going to be hung out to dry. If he doesn't respond, if he does respond to this, he's still going to get hung out to dry, for lack of better terms, and they're going to be pinning this as he ended up starting this war. Yes, Book, I see what you're saying there, that I believe I pronounced that correct, that Iran notified us. They're just trying to save face, right? Iran did notify us of the attack on Qatar. And if we go back to Iran's statements, all they mention in that is Qatar. What they are not mentioning is al-Assad. And that's why I say that Iran is very clever in the way in which they put out their statements. This is some of the fallout, what I'm about to have up on your screen here. This is some of the fallout from one of those Patriot interceptions. Ah, freaking music, man. I don't understand these people and their dang music. But, yep, that appears to be some of the fallout from one of the ballistic missile interceptions over Qatar. Yep. Just crap exploding. Good stuff falling out of the sky, streaking out of the sky. I'm sure we're going to see some more of those that are actually coming out here in just a little bit as we continue on. So, question, is Trump going to end up responding? And you want my personal opinion? Yeah, I think we likely will. Trump is very big on peace through strength, and he made it very, very clear to Iran the other day that if they end up retaliating, basically that we're going to end up crushing them. Let's see here. It looks like we've got, yeah, nope. That's not good. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see if they actually talk about it. Looks like somebody is stating that Donald Trump has no intention to strike back against Iran after Iran's failed retaliatory strikes. Let's see. Let's give this a listen.
Also saying no casualties in the attack on the U.S. military base either. So it would seem that maybe, and we hope fortunately, none of the missiles actually hit the ground. Also saying no casualties.
I haven't heard a damn thing, so that's unconfirmed that we're not going to respond as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen any of that yet. Still continue to look for some more information as this comes out, ladies and gentlemen. That's just kind of one of the things. Pentagon says there's no casualties in the strike, so that's good. All of the troops are safe. So I'm hoping that also includes the Al-Assad airbase over inside of Iraq as well. The last couple times they actually ended up launching those attacks on Al-Assad, we ended up having a lot of troops get TBIs, and people are saying that TBIs aren't that big of a deal, but they can quite literally scar you for life. And I will just tell you that personally, that it does screw you up pretty bad. So I don't take those injuries lightly. And if that is something that ends up coming out of the Al-Assad airbase, then yeah, I mean, I absolutely suspect an attack. All right, let's give this a listen here. Oh, no, dude, I can't do him. It just drives me nuts. There's some more interceptions.
Allahu Akbar. Madam, madam.
So I'm looking over at the White House's live feed right now to see if they're going to be making a statement as it comes out. I saw that somebody down in the comments section had said that, yes, it just came out that the U.S. is not going to be responding. Mick Jowers says, I can see this as a symbolic attack, but in 2020, Iran was not in direct conflict with Israel. This feels different. And that is the big deal right there, right? When we start talking about this, is that was a target assassination to take out Soleimani, who was undoubtedly a piece of shit, responsible for the death of over 1,000 U.S. service members split between Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is kind of where you've got the Ayatollah that might actually be losing power. Just so you guys are tracking, let me see if I can actually get this up on your screen real quick. I know a lot of you guys are saying that it ended up coming out. Believe it or not, like Trump ends up putting out a lot of policy via Twitter or via his True Social account, and I'm not seeing any statements that end up coming out from him. Just so you guys know, I'm not bullshitting you. Just getting up here, up over on your screen. We can listen to the statement that Trump ended up making about the attack on Iran, and that's fine. We can get over there in just a sec. Maybe we'll do that. What I want to do is I want to go check out one more thing real quick before I end up telling you guys that that is the bulk of the information that we have. And it doesn't look like anybody has came out with any more statements as of yet. So with that being said, I do want you guys to listen to what Trump said about, like, if Iran chooses to retaliate. Let me get that up here on your screen. He gave a very short message when he ended up coming out with it. So let me see if I can find that. Get this up. Come on, White House, get it together.
The Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps
So that's the statement that I was looking for from Trump. There's either going to be peace or there's going to be massive tragedy from Iran. It is being reported that senior White House officials came out and stated that there will be no U.S. response from that particular attack, which is kind of odd to me because DoD Rapid Response actually just ended up putting out this statement about 2 minutes ago. Kind of odd that we just had a U.S. airbase attacked and DoD Rapid Response chose this statement. They said the sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed and everybody knows it. Only the fake news would say something different in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say that they were pretty well destroyed. Working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News, CNN, Dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and as always, the losers of, again, Comcast, NBC Fake News. It never ends with the sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are all-time lows. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't make that shit up. We literally had a U.S. airbase attacked, and that is the statement that the DoD Rapid Response Team just put out about 2 minutes ago. Under 5 for dang sure. 502 Outlaw coming in, gifting us Speak the Truth membership. Ladies and gentlemen, that looks like it's going to be all for now. It doesn't look like we have anything else really to report to you of what's going on. We've got other Patriots and stuff like that that are coming down. So I'll leave you with this. Here is a video of a Patriot that ended up landing over there. Oop, let me get that up. Ended up landing over inside of Qatar. Let me get that up. Here we go.
هاي قطعة في البيت صاروخ تو طايح حلو بالحنطة أنا طيحناه هني طبعا عرفت علي أول ما دش طيح.
There you go. We got chunks of stuff landing everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of Speak the Truth podcast. If anything does come up, make sure that you check in here. Make sure that you're subscribed, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you have your notifications turned on. In the meantime, peace, love, happiness, God bless. I'm out of here.